Good evening, everyone. Welcome to an edition of ATL Prime Sports. Todd Corder here in Atlanta. Our producer this evening, Wayne, in Memphis. JJ is out. He will join us on Friday along with Mark Mancini from Los Angeles. Special edition of ATL Prime Sports, our college basketball edition. Dave Cohen will join us live from Pensacola Bay Center in Pensacola, Florida, as he is broadcasting the Sunbelt Conference Championship game between Appalachian State and Georgia State. Appalachian State is winning with a little over a minute in the game. Dave, what is the score at this point? Wayne, what's the score at this point? Jeez.
It's 65-71. App State has minute 11 seconds left, and looks like App State's going to inbound the ball here.
So App State's up by 6 with a minute and change left in the game. Thanks for that update there, Wayne. If Georgia State can come back and win the game, they will go into the NCAA tournament as a projected 14 seed. If Appalachian State wins, they will be a 15 or a 16 seed. Georgia State's last loss was on February 9th. They have won 8 games in a row. Their last loss on the 9th of February was to South Alabama. And right now they're trying to make it 9 in a row and get into the Sunbelt Championship game NCAA tournament by becoming Sunbelt champions. And Wayne, they're 1-2 versus App State going into this game tonight. And, it'll be a really disappointment if Georgia State does not finish the deal here with 9 straight wins and a Sun Belt championship.
Yeah, I'm going to try to remain calm while I'm watching this, but it's a 4-point. He got
I caught Dave's call tonight, and, one of the players, Kane Williams, is one of the top scorers in Georgia State basketball history. And depending on tonight's game, he could potentially get in the top 10 all time. I believe at this point he is 12th. So that's quite a career for Kane Williams, who, averages around 12, 13 points a game. So, you would hate to see Georgia State and Kane Williams end his career on this note. And Georgia State, which has fought so hard this season to come so close to not only a Sun Belt championship, but an NCAA tournament berth.
Yeah, well, it's a 4-point deficit now, and they're reviewing a play that went out of bounds to see it may be Georgia State's ball.
Well, this, like I said, they can pull this off. They were down by 12?
Well, they were down by about 14 at one point.
Right, down by 14. So we'll see. Appalachian State is 2-1 against them thus far this season, but this is the one that really counts. Once again, Dave Cohen will join us from the Pensacola Bay Center in Pensacola, Florida, after the game. So stay with us here on ATL Prime Sports, and we'll get his analysis on the Sun Belt Championship. Until then, Wayne, keep me updated on the game here. Let's talk some college basketball. Let's start with your university, since that Memphis cap is on your head. Memphis is 11-4 in the AAC, 15-7 overall. They're third in the conference behind Wichita State and number 7 Houston. They're 1-0 versus Wichita State this season and 0-1 versus Houston. In your opinion, Wayne, does Memphis need to win that conference championship in order to make the NCAA tournament, or can they get to the championship game and squeak in if they lose?
No, I think they need to win that conference championship. Getting to that last game and just doing well is not going to cut it, because I don't think the NCAA is going to dip that deep into this conference. They'll take Wichita State and they'll take Houston regardless of what happens, but I don't think they'll take Memphis unless Memphis wins.
It's just kind of like the Sun Belt we mentioned earlier. There's only going to be one winner out of that conference. Georgia State will go in as a 14 seed, or App State's going to go in as a 15 and could be a 16 seed. That's unfortunately how it goes. Talk a little bit about Memphis in their season, Wayne. I mean, you've been to a couple of games. This is a club that can still make the tournament. They are capable of winning the AAC conference, excuse me.
Well, the beginning of the year, it started off kind of rough. their offense was not very good at all. Uh, and they've added DeAndre Williams to the lineup, and that's really helped him. He's out of Houston, a transfer, and they've really seemed to get their act together during the second half of the season. Their offense and their defense have always been good, but that last game was really a heartbreaker for me. Another heartbreaker, a seeming heartbreaker, would have been the fact that that game was supposed to have been played in Memphis, but the conference changed it to Houston because the first game against Houston was canceled due to the COVID issue. And that kind of gave Houston a more of an edge. And the other part of that is it was supposed to have been senior night for the University of Memphis here at home, and that got kind of washed away. But then I looked at the roster for Memphis, and there are no seniors on the team. So that means that these players will all be back next year.
Well, that's a good sign. And, this pandemic college basketball 2020-21 season, there's been nothing like it. You'll see a lot of teams playing 6 or 7 more games than other clubs and, trying to determine a regular season conference champion because, Georgia State, they played less games than some other folks in the Sunbelt Conference. They won the East. They had the best winning percentage overall of any team in the Sun Belt. And, it'd be a shame if they couldn't finish it off. What's the update on that game there, Wayne?
Well, it's 73-67, 48.7 left in the game, and they're down to the desperation fouls at this point. As soon as they inbound the ball, somebody gets fouled, and that's on both sides.
Well, we'll have to see. Georgia State was 8-4. They were first place in the East by percentage points, 16-5 overall. We'll see if they can come back. In the meantime, let's go to another local team. Let's go to Georgia Tech in the ACC, 11-6 overall, 11-6 in the conference, 15-8 overall, with a 6-game winning streak. And Wayne, they have 4 wins over top 20 teams. And, the ACC is going to probably get 6 teams in, potentially 8. Georgia State was Georgia Tech was 1-1 against FSU, 1-1 against Duke, 1-1 against Clemson, 1-0 against Virginia Tech, 0-2 versus Virginia, 1-0 against North Carolina, 1-0 against Syracuse. And even though I lost to Georgia State earlier in the season, this is a team that has taken some really drastic steps and have become a lot better basketball team as the season comes along, being 4th place in the ACC.
Yeah, I tell you another thing that is saving Georgia Tech's coach having this good of a season, because I think Josh Pastner would, if he didn't do it well, he would have been out. And I think having them do this well in the conference and having a chance to get in the tournament's going to keep him around for a while.
Well, it's exciting news for the city of Atlanta to be able to get Georgia Tech in the NCAA tournament. They're projected to get in, even if they lose in the first round of the ACC tournament. Let's hope not. And we were so excited about potentially getting a second team in from the city of Atlanta, Georgia State, but it's not looking good. What's the update now?
76-67. So it's a 9-point deficit at this point. And
how much time is left?
39-7.
Wow. So we'll see if Georgia State can pull off the miracle. We've seen miracles before in college basketball and professional basketball.
Yeah.
We'll see. But, we were hoping for a second team in the city of Atlanta to get in. And right now, it's not looking good. Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, will join us from Pensacola, Florida, here on ATL Prime Sports. You want to stay tuned to that. Let's move over to the Big 12, Wayne. Baylor is going to be in, second-ranked Baylor. Kansas is number 11. They'll be in. Texas is number 13. They'll be in. West Virginia, who had a heartbreaking loss to Baylor not long ago, is number 10. They'll be in. Oklahoma State's 12. They'll be in. Texas Tech is 20. They're projected to get in. And Oklahoma, look at that. It isn't the greatest overall record, but playing in this Big 12 conference, they're ranked 25th. I expect them to get in too, but they would love a couple of victories in the Big 12 conference to get them to move along. But Wayne, Kansas had a stronghold on this conference
Yeah.
for many years to come. And right now, Baylor, they're the best team in the Big 12.
Well, it wasn't too long ago. Texas was a really hot team in that conference, and I'm not sure what happened to their program, whether it was a coaching change or what happened. But maybe an athletic director needs to be changed because it seems like their football and their basketball is not quite up to the par that they would like them to be.
I tell you what, though, everybody talks about the Big Ten being a great conference this year, and it is, and it may be the best conference in basketball, but not far behind or equal to them is the Big 12 with all these teams getting in, and it's impressive. I don't see anybody else from the Big 12 getting in this tournament unless they happen to run the table and get a huge, upset and win the tournament, but it's so highly unlikely. Baylor, to me, Wayne, is a Final Four basketball team. They just know how to win games.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick with my favorite in that conference, and I'm gonna predict that West Virginia wins that conference. That's championship.
You think they're going to win the conference tournament?
Yep.
You'll make some relatives of mine very happy on my wife's side of the family. That's for sure. What a job that West Virginia has done. I mean, they're a legitimate top 10 basketball program. And any of these teams, if you're in the top 20, can win this tournament. They can. Yeah. I mean, anybody can win it.
I'm making my prediction solely based on the fact that the Huggy Bear is their coach.
He's done a great job. He's done a great job at Cincinnati. Wherever he's gone, he's won a lot of games is Bob Huggins. Tremendous job. Tremendous coach. Gets the most out of his players. Really stresses defense. I mean, I love the defense that West Virginia plays.
Yeah.
I mean, golly, I'm impressed with them. They're really a good team.
When Memphis and Cincinnati, we're still in the same conference, but we're in the Metro Conference. We had to play his team at Cincinnati, and they always had probably the best run zone 2-3, 3-2 zone defense of any team that I had ever watched Memphis play against. Trying to remember Louisville's coach name back then was I can't remember it now, but he was another great coach.
Denny Crum?
Yeah, Denny Crum.
Oh, but you know what? When Cincinnati, Louisville, Memphis all got together, man, I'm telling you what, they were not mid-majors in my opinion. They were they are upper. They were very good basketball teams.
Well, that conference also had Florida State and South Carolina in it. There's a Metro Conference.
Right, back before Florida State went in the ACC. Right. All right, let's move on to the Big East. Looks like two teams are going to get in. Number 14, Villanova. Number 7, Team Creighton. These are really good teams. Two teams are on the bubble, UConn and St. John's. I think St. John's has got to win the conference tournament to get in. UConn's going to have to go quite a ways to get in. UConn's a big name in college basketball, as you know, but the Big East to me looks like a 2-team race. And we'll see what happens.
I've got kind of a dark horse in that one, simply because it's more Cincinnati basketball. I would not be surprised if Xavier won that conference tournament.
Really?
Yeah.
They've had a down year, Xavier.
Well, something about that team always surprises me.
Xavier and Cincinnati, they're right in Cincinnati, Ohio. You can throw a rock in between each campus.
And they do throw rocks.
What's that?
I said they do throw rocks at each other. Those two teams do not like each other.
It's an inner city rivalry. It's like any inner city rivalry. What's the score on that Georgia State game?
It's 80-73, 10-9 left.
Yeah, it looks like Appalachian State is going to represent the Sunbelt Conference in the NCAA tournament. Dave Cullen will join us from Pensacola, Florida, after the game here on ATL Prime Sports. Stay with us, and we'll get Dave's analysis not only on this game, but on the tremendous second half of the season for Georgia State as they were trying to win 9 games in a row. and become Sunbelt Conference champions. All right, let's go over to the Big Ten. You know, everybody says this is the number one Udo conference in college basketball, Wayne. They're projected to get two teams, Michigan, Illinois, as the one seed. And what's the key word in that sentence? Projected.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I tell you what, if Michigan stumbles like they did against Michigan State, Wayne, and nobody beats Michigan in anything like Michigan State. And I'm a Michigan guy, and I can admit it because I'll tell it the way it is. Michigan State is 15-11 overall, 3 top 5-10 wins. Nobody else in college basketball has more than one. They're definitely in the tournament, even if they stumble. But Wayne, guess who Michigan State would play if they just win one conference game in the Big Ten tournament? Who is that going to be?
I guess would it be Michigan?
Yeah, I set you up. Set it right on a tee for you. That's correct. It'll be Michigan. And I tell you, watching Tom Izzo at the end of that game, I saw the video of it when he went over, Wayne, and you're going to like this. And I like it too, even though I'm a Michigan guy. I respect Michigan State a lot. I'll root for them after Michigan in college basketball. Our guest, Deshaun Tate, has been on our show many times. He's a Michigan State guy. Me and him have had some friendly banter over the years in regards to this wonderful rivalry. You know, I mean, at the end of the game, Tom Izzo is addressing the seniors. He's addressing the parents in the crowd, and he's crying. This is what college basketball is all about, Wayne. It's way better than the NBA. To me, it's way better than the NBA. The quality of play obviously is not, but the care and the drive and the passion from these big programs and even the mid-majors is something to see. These kids always give it their all.
Now, I would say the biggest difference to me is the passion of the fans. I think you get a lot of fans that watch NBA teams that are there more for the spectacle than the actual game, whereas the fans for college basketball tend to be more game oriented. But I do have an update for you on that game.
Okay, what is it?
It's 80-73 final. App State will be representing the Sunbelt Conference.
We wish congratulations to Appalachian State. They were 3-1 against Georgia State this season. They surely earned it. They'll go in probably as a 15 or a 16 seed. Georgia State will miss the NCAA tournament. We'll see if they get an NIT bid. Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, will be joining us shortly on ATL Prime Sports. And we'll talk to him not only about this tough loss, but an 8-game winning streak and a really good second half of the season with several games being postponed due to COVID-19 pandemic. And, you know, Georgia, it's a shame they fell short.
Right. But, you know, going back to the Big Ten Conference, I kind of have a semi-dark horse in that one as far as who I think has a potential to win that conference is Purdue.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned Purdue because guess who has beat Indiana 9 straight games? What school would that be?
That would be Purdue.
I teed it up for you. I knew you'd get it. And guess what, Wayne? This is the best Purdue run since John Wooden played for them. Yes, the John Wooden, who is one of the greatest college basketball coaches ever, if not the greatest, at UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles. So Indiana is a major disappointment. 7-12 overall, 7-12 in the Big Ten, 12-14 overall. And Purdue is ranked 20th. And I like that pick. I like the dark horse pick because Matt Painter, Wayne, this team, they put their lunch pail on. They're a lunch pail type team.
Yeah.
They're big, they're bruising under the boards, and they get after it. This type of team, can they muscle their way and win the Big Ten tournament? I say not. Well, but I like what you said as a sleeper. Tell me, do you feel some of the same ways I do when describing Purdue?
Yeah, and I think that that type of under the basket offense is probably makes them different than the other teams who rely on shooting a lot more.
this conference. Speaking of bruisers, they got them in Illinois. They have them in Michigan. Iowa too, with one of the best players, Luka Garza, in college basketball, an All-American, and he got the win for Iowa. Who's fifth ranked in the country now, over a very good Wisconsin basketball team, who I say is in the tournament, even though they're 16-11. It'd be nice if they won a game or two to really cement that NCAA bid. But even if they lose at 16-12, as tough as this conference is, they're in along with Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, Purdue, and let's not count Ohio State. They're a top 10 team too. They have 4 teams, the Big Ten, in the top 10.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The other thing about Purdue is they're on a 5-game win streak right now. And I think that momentum is part of the reason why I think they may have a chance of winning that conference.
And 2 other teams who I think have a really good shot at getting in is Rutgers and Maryland. So the Big Ten could have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Wow.
6, 7, 8, 9 teams in the NCAA tournament. Now, I could be wrong, or I could be, Rutgers and Maryland are on the bubble, but they're very capable of beating folks. And if they win one game, I think they're in the NCAA tournament. You may disagree with me.
Oh, I do.
Tell me why. No, tell me why.
Well, Wisconsin, Rutgers, and Maryland, the only reason that they would stand a chance of getting an at-large bid is because of favoritism towards these larger conferences. And the fact that you take a conference like the Sunbelt Conference that'll get one team in because they won the conference, and the NCAA has to let them, come in and play. If they didn't have to let them, then they would pick, as far down as Maryland easy and just shut out the Sunbelt Conference and some of the other smaller conferences altogether. But, they made that deal where they have, if you win the conference tournament, you're getting in automatic. So
no matter what your record is.
Right. And
that's one thing that I hear a lot of people. I think the college basketball playoff is miles and miles way better than the college football playoff. It just is. There's a good system, but there is kind of one flaw in it that, you could have an under 500 record. It doesn't happen very often, but it does. And you could still make the NCAA tournament by winning your conference tournament. But you know what? Any system in college sports is going to have a flaw. And if this is the flaw for college basketball, I can live with it. How about you?
Yeah. Well, of course I can live with it. It doesn't mean I have to like it.
Okay. You know what? We talked off air today. Me and you had a nice conversation about Indiana.
Yeah.
Now, this is a team that, how many times have they made the NCAA tournament in the last 15 years? How many times have they made it?
I want to say 4.
Are they a blue blood anymore? I still hear people telling me they are. And Wayne, I don't think they are at this point.
Well, somewhere in my heart, I feel like they are. But when I look at all the statistics and the thinking side of my brain takes over, I would have to say that they are no longer at that level that you could consider them a blue blood. And I think teams like Gonzaga and a few other teams have stepped into that hole that they left as far as being blue blood.
Yes, Gonzaga, to me, we can talk about them for a minute. They're playing right now. They're getting ready to play St. Mary's. Gonzaga has really earned its reputation in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
They've been in the Final Four. They've been in they've been everywhere in the bracket in the NCAA tournament. The only thing they haven't done is win it all. And guess what? Gonzaga could win it all this year.
Well, I want to tell you something historically that happens to Gonzaga. And is this the first round of this tournament, or is this the final game?
I believe it's the first round, but I do not know.
Something that historically happens to Gonzaga in this tournament is they always lose their first game of the year in the tournament, if not, last game of regular season. And I don't think that they're going to be undefeated going into the NCAA tournament.
Whoa. See, I think they complete the deal, and they are undefeated going in the NCAA tournament. Could you imagine if they won the national title undefeated. It would be, what was the last team? We just talked about them. The last team to go.
Yeah, Bobby Knight's
32
team.
and 0, Bobby Knight in
Yeah.
1976. Guess who they beat to win that national title that year? Do you know?
I don't
It's
know.
in their conference, same conference, they beat them 3 times to win the national title. They beat them twice in the regular season and once in the championship game in Philadelphia.
And
Do
I
you know
see.
who it was?
I was pretty young in '76, but I want to say it was either Michigan or.
That's the answer.
Okay, I was going to say
Michigan.
Purdue might have been the other answer.
It was Michigan, led by Phil Hubbard and them. And the Wolverines, Johnny Orr was the head coach of Michigan back in '76. That was a really good basketball team. They made the national championship game and lost to Indiana.
Yeah. No.
So, it just shows nobody's ran the table since Indiana. Can Gonzaga do it during a pandemic season? And here's one thing, Wayne. If a team gets COVID in this tournament, they can't play.
Right.
They would be eliminated. We would go on. There's no backup to come in. To me, this would be devastating. That's why it's not only important you take care of business on the court, but you take care of business off the court so that you can play. So, we talked about, Indiana not making a tournament. Another team going back to the ACC is Duke. They're 11-11 overall. They're going to have to go very far in the ACC tournament to get in. I do believe if they can get to the championship game, Duke will get in.
Yeah,
and they'll continue their tournament streak.
I don't think they're going to get to the championship game.
Well, I said a big if. Right now, there's 6 teams in the ACC, possibly 8 that can get in. Virginia, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, UNC, and Clemson. I think they're going to probably get in. And then Louisville and Syracuse are on the bubble. Yeah. But, we'll see. You're listening here to ATL Prime Sports. Todd Corder along with the producer here. Wayne from Memphis. Thank you, Wayne, for saying hello to everybody. We're waiting for Dave Cohen to join us, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, coming to you from Pensacola, Florida. Georgia State just lost the Sunbelt championship game to Appalachian State. Congratulations to Appalachian State. They will move on to the NCAA tournament as a 15 or a 16 seed. And Georgia State would have been the second most team. Well, most likely Georgia Tech will get in from the city of Atlanta to get in the NCAA tournament. And if they would have won tonight, and it's all for naught. And we were so excited about having Dave on, and we still are, but it's kind of a downer. I mean, it really is a Debbie Downer. I mean, Memphis lost, Georgia State lost, Michigan lost, and, JJ's Georgia lost. So, we're 4 for 4 in the loss column.
No, how did Mercer do? They were playing in a tournament, weren't they?
That I don't know. You'd have to look that up. I did not check.
Yeah, I know they're just down the road.
Conference tournament, yes. Yeah. Right. Georgia Tech lost to Mercer earlier in the season and Georgia State. So, wow, you know what? It's a shame. This is the way the college basketball season worked out. A lot of you said off the air to me, and this was an interesting point before we talk about the other conferences before Dave comes on. You said, everybody's going to go by strength of schedule, but the mid-majors, they got a lot of games postponed, against the big boys to see what they could do. And they're measured mainly against games in their conference, which means they're not playing a lot of ranked teams. And you said that hurts them, and I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, it's normally you if you're in a mid-major conference, you play a lot of Big Five conference outside your conference schedule before your conference schedule starts. And winning games like that is what really helps, your strength of schedule. But because a lot of those bigger conferences weren't playing outside their conference, even though some of the smaller conferences were willing to, it kind of, didn't give the smaller conferences and the mid-majors a chance to play a big team.
That's right. Georgia State had a non-conference game up in Ann Arbor versus Michigan canceled earlier in the season. And That's part of what COVID has been for the 2020-21 college basketball season. It's wreaked havoc on the schedules and the kids. We congratulated the kids in football, Wayne. We should congratulate them in college basketball and all the other sports that are going on right now. Women's college basketball, you name it. I mean, college baseball started, college softball started. These kids are doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should I need to find out if I can actually go to any Memphis baseball games, because surprisingly those tickets are free. You just have to show up to the game, and it's an on-campus stadium they got down there.
That is one sport to me that is so underrated. College baseball. We can talk about it again before we can talk about it before we get into the Pac-12 and the SEC and our ATL Prime Sports college basketball special. Since you mentioned college baseball, we have a few extra minutes before Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, will join us, coming to us from Pensacola, Florida. College baseball is something that, I recommend people go watch. I've seen some college baseball games. I've gotten to watch my alma mater, Michigan, play down and the first round of the NCAA tournament in the Atlanta regional when Georgia Tech was in it. They won that regional, but Michigan played Furman in Atlanta, and that was a thrill. Then I got to watch Georgia Tech play. I don't remember the opponent, but college baseball is really special. It's inexpensive.
Yeah.
And, it's really good baseball.
Yeah, I got one tiny issue with college baseball. The reason that I it's hard for me to watch. I do not like the sound of that ball pinging off of those aluminum bats.
Well, look, if it was me, I wouldn't have the aluminum bats in college baseball. But here's the deal. It is a huge business, and there's no way in hell they're getting rid of aluminum bats in college baseball. They're just not. I don't see them doing it. And, to me, it's a miracle some pitcher hasn't been clocked with a line drive and could pass away or get seriously injured on the mound, because that ball is coming off that bat like a rocket.
Well, and another thing about that aluminum bat is it's a lot more they can keep the bats more consistent because it's a manufactured bat and they're not making it out of a natural material. And so you don't really have much variance in how the bat is made and its density and weight and everything else.
It's incredible. There's no question. All right, let's go ahead and go to the Pac-12 conference. Oregon, they're not ranked. They're in at 19-5. USC is ranked. They're 24th. They're in. Colorado ranked 23rd. They're most likely in. On the bubble is UCLA. It's 13-6 in conference play, 17-8 overall. Arizona 11-9 in conference play, 17-9 overall. Arizona has been really good for many years. Yeah. They're going to need a run in the Pac-12 tournament to get in. And, I would say Oregon, USC, and Colorado are most likely in. And UCLA is going to need a run too. And, wow, UCLA when I was a kid was just, you mentioned college basketball. Yeah. First thing you mentioned was UCLA. And they're no longer a blue blood like Indiana.
Yeah. Well, way back 1973, Memphis played UCLA in the Final Four. And
that's right.
That was that was during the period when UCLA kept being undefeated.
Right. Yeah, but, Michigan played UCLA in the tournament too, and they're really good.
Going back to the Pac-12, the Oregon right now does have the momentum going into that tournament because they've won their last
They're a really
5.
good team. Look, you go 19-5, you're really good.
Yeah,
you just are. The Pac-12. I mean, let's face it, their games are on at late at night.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't watch them on the East Coast, especially east of the Mississippi River. It's kind of a shame that they can't start these games sooner, but television dictates everything.
Well,
I'd like to see the Pac-12 get more, airtime on the weekends during the day, if that's possible.
Yeah, the only way that they're going to be able to do that is if they start having the games played at 10:30 or 11 o'clock Pacific Coast time, so that they can be on as a second game, on the East Coast, and not push them all the way back to a 9 p.m. start time.
We'll find out. All right, you're listening to another edition of ATL Prime Sports. Todd Corder here with you in Atlanta, along with Wayne in Memphis. Waiting for Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, to join us. Georgia State just lost in their conference championship game in the Sunbelt Conference. Appalachian State will move on to the NCAA tournament as a 15 or 16 seed. The final score was 80-73. Appalachian State defeated Georgia State. Georgia State came in with an 8-game winning streak, trying to make it 9, and they fell to Appalachian State, who was 3-1 versus Georgia State on the season, including that championship game when Dave Cohen will join us, the voice of the Panthers, from Pensacola, Florida. Let's go on, Wayne, and talk about the Southeastern Conference. Alabama, number 6, they're in. Arkansas, number 8, they're in.
Yep.
I suspect LSU at 16-8 is in. Tennessee at 17-7 is in. I suspect those teams are going to be in.
Yeah.
On the bubble, Florida, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Georgia is out. Your Auburn Tigers are out.
Out.
Unless these teams run the table and win the tournament.
I don't see that happening. I don't really think there is a quote dark horse or surprise team in this conference. I think it's going to be one of those top 4 that could win the conference championship. But even if LSU and Tennessee go far in the conference, they'll still get in the tournament, even if they don't play in the final game.
I agree with that. And the best team for me in this conference is Arkansas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I thought. I mentioned that to my dad today, and he didn't like that because he's a big Alabama fan. So,
but the shocker of all shockers, and I waited for this because it's another blue blood disappointment, and Kentucky is still a blue blood, but John Calipari's one and done seems to bite in Kentucky in the buttocks because they're 8-9 in the SEC. They've actually done pretty well in the SEC, better than I thought. They are 9-15 overall, and unless they win out, and they must win out, they will not be in the NCAA tournament. So you can have an NCAA tournament with no Duke, no Carolina, no Indiana, potentially no North Carolina. Holy blue blood cow, what has a pandemic done to college basketball this season?
Yeah, I believe
no
the only
UCLA.
The only team that I guess you could count as sort of a blue blood would be Michigan would be in.
I don't know if Michigan's a blue blood. The Michigan program is really underrated. They've played, let's see, in the national championship game, I want to say 8 times.
Yeah.
And they've lost 7 of them. Their win was against was in 1989 when they beat Seton Hall.
Yeah.
That's a funny story. I was this probably bore the listeners, but I got to tell you anyway. I was in a big tournament working many years ago when I lived outside the Flint area in Michigan, in a big work pool, right? We're pulling names out of hats. I pulled Seton Hall. That's who Michigan played in the national championship game. Seton Hall wins, I win $500.
Wow.
Michigan wins, I win 50. No, I win 100.
Okay.
Guess what? I won 100, but I was sort of disappointed because I wanted the $500. That's big money back then.
Now, what year?
And it's still big money
what
today.
Year was that again?
Not as big. What's that?
What year was that?
89.
89.
Mill Robinson.
Okay, so that was after they had the shot clock involved, because wasn't Seton Hall one of those teams that before they had the shot clock, they used to go into the 4 corners and just waste time?
That would have been North Carolina. Maybe Seton Hall did that too. But, that's the year Michigan and Glenn Rice went nuts. The native from Flint, Michigan, my hometown, he went nuts. He scored over 30 a game. He couldn't miss from 3-point shot. If you 3-point line, if you didn't make him put it on the floor and he caught it and shot it, forget it. Go get it out of the net. That's just the way it was.
Maybe it was Villanova who used to do that too.
Oh, yeah, they used to do that too. Villanova did
Yeah.
it too. But, Mitch, that was the year that Bo Schembechler, when Bill Frieder decided to take the Arizona State job, and he said to Bo Schembechler, I'll go ahead and coach Michigan till the end of the season. And that's when Bo said, no, a Michigan man will coach Michigan.
Yeah.
And he took Steve Fisher, Frieder's top assistant. He was the coach. They went 6-0. And then and he went 6-0. They won it. They hired Steve Fisher full time. Steve Fisher did a great job at San Diego State after that. Steve Fisher, long career at San Diego State, and he did a great job. I mean, he was a coach that was very worthy. So back to the SEC until Dave Cohen calls us, which will be momentarily, as Wayne, our producer, will log his call in, and we're ready to go. Yeah, the teams on the bubble: Florida, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Georgia. They're all out unless they run the conference table. Oh, we were talking about Kentucky. This one and done situation with Calipari finally came back to bite him in the buttocks. All these blue bloods: Kentucky, Duke, Indiana, UCLA, North Carolina may not be in the NCAA tournament. And I'd have to look that up to find out when the last time that happened. But I can tell you that's a hell of a long time ago.
Yep.
I don't have that stat in front of me. So
I don't think that stat exists.
It exists somewhere. There's just no way it doesn't. So anyhow, while we wait for Dave Cohen to call us, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers, calling us from Pensacola, Florida this evening, as Georgia State lost to Appalachian State 80-73. Appalachian State. Well, this is a good time to do this. We'll take a break. I just want everyone to know on Friday, our show is going to be live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our guest, Kirsten Kroll, will join us on ATL Prime Sports. She is the host of the Minnesota Wild and co-host of OTR Sports Talk. She will be talking about the NHL and the Minnesota Wild, what's going on with the Wild and the NHL. And I can't wait to have her on because I can't wait to discuss hockey with her. She's very talented. She hosts the Minnesota Wild pregame and postgame show up there in the Minneapolis area. And I can't wait to hear her take on the National Hockey League this season thus far. And, of course, the Minnesota Wild. And, let's give a little snippet of Friday, if we can, Wayne, as we wait for Dave Cohen. It'll be a few minutes for him to come on. JJ mentioned something to me which shocked me that he doesn't know a lot about hockey, but he knew this. This floored me. He goes, the Minnesota Wild, they have that in their logo there, the little North Star from when the North Stars used to be in Minnesota before they moved to Dallas and became the Dallas Stars. I think you knew that too. Didn't you tell me that too?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that surprised me about that move to Dallas is that they didn't change their name to the Lone Stars.
The Lone Star. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. So anyway, Kirsten Kroll will join us live at 1 p.m. at Eastern Standard Time in ATL Prime Sports. You can listen by two ways: 1-347-205-9631, or you can listen in www.blogtalkradio.com. JJ will join us from the other side of the ATL along with me, you, and of course Mark Mancini from Los Angeles. And I can't wait to see four guys from the South talk hockey to somebody from up north.
Yeah, well,
well, Mark's not from the South, but he's from a warm climate. They have the Kings in Los Angeles, and he's a Pittsburgh guy, so he knows hockey.
Right.
I'm from Michigan. I know hockey, but you two are Southern boys, and you seem to know more hockey than you let put on. I think you want to pull my chain a little bit here.
Well, I tell you what happened was I had some roommates in college. We had an apartment, and they were huge hockey fans, and so I got caught up watching it with them. And they made me pick a team. They said, "You need to pick a team if you're going to be watching hockey."
Okay.
So I said, "Well, let me look at these teams." And I said, "Well, this in here, this Toronto Maple Leafs. I like their logo, so I'm going with them." And I've stuck with them since 1988. I've stuck with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That's an organization that hasn't won the Stanley Cup since 1967, which is so hard to believe. I think the Chicago Cubs of the National Hockey League They just can't get over the damn hump, and they're finally, I think they got a shot to do it this year. They're one of the top 4 teams in the NHL easily, and we'll ask Kirsten if she thinks they can win it all. The Maple Leafs is, I think you did that because they have Memphis's colors a little bit there.
It could be that. But this year that their little division is not as strong as it normally is, and I think they're taking good advantage of that.
Well, speaking of the divisions in the NHL, what they did was there are 4 divisions.
Right.
3 of them have 8 teams in it. One has 7, and one of them is an all-Canadian division because the Canada teams cannot cross the border because they what do you call that there in Canada? The Prime Minister of Canada, is that what it is? It's a Canadian Prime Minister. He went ahead and closed the border, so there's no travel between the United States and Canada.
Right.
So they have to all play each other. But eventually, one of those teams is going to come out of that division and be in the Final Four, in the NHL Final Four, and they'll have to play the 3 American clubs that are remaining.
Right.
And that'll be interesting to see. And to me, Toronto has the best shot. We'll see what Kirsten says on Friday at 1 p.m. Live on ATL Prime Sports. You can listen 2 ways again, 1-347-205-9631 or www.blogtalkradio.com. JJ will join us from the other side of the ATL along with me and you from Memphis. I'm in Atlanta, and Mark Mancini will be in Los Angeles. And it'll be interesting to find out what her opinions are, what's going on with the Wild and in the National Hockey League. And, I'm glad you picked an original 6. Did you realize when you picked that back in 1988 that that Toronto is an original 16?
Oh, they let me know about it pretty quick when I chose them because they couldn't believe, first of all, I chose that team over somebody like the Habs or Penguins.
That's par for the evening. Dave gave the thumbs up. He'll call in next week. So Dave Cohen, after all, will not join us on ATL Prime Sports. It's been a disappointing evening. Disappointing for Dave, disappointing for Georgia State as they lose to Appalachian State 80-73 in the Sunbelt Conference Championship game. App State will go on to the NCAA tournament, and hopefully Georgia State will play in the NIT. And it's disappointing we won't have Dave on. And we're just 0 for 3 tonight.
Well, I tell you, the only other big news going on right now is Dax Prescott will be with the Dallas Cowboys.
Did he sign?
Yeah, they came to an agreement.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. That is fantastic.
It takes one more.
Glad to hear that.
One more player is now out of the spinning cycle of quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right. One more is out of the spinning cycle. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and spin the show this way and end it for this evening. Once again, thank you, Wayne, for joining me with our college basketball special here on ATL Prime Sports. We're sorry Dave Cohen could not come on due to some technical difficulty, or he usually comes on video, and he can't come on video where he's at. And I don't know why in the hell the numbers weren't working, but that's the way it is. So let everybody know on Friday at 1 p.m. our guest once again will be Kirsten Kroll. She is the host of the Minnesota Wild. She'll join us live on ATL Prime Sports at 1 o'clock. You can listen in 2 ways, 1-347-205-9631 or www.blogtalkradio.com. And she'll talk about the Minnesota Wild and what's going around the NHL. And Wayne, thanks so much for joining me this evening.
All right.
I really appreciate it. I had really fun with the conversation. Thank you for updating us on Dak Prescott. Like the Dallas Cowboys, I like to hear that news, and hopefully Dak will be fully recovered from his injury this season. We'll see him in opening day for the Dallas Cowboys in their famous uniforms. For Wayne in Memphis, I'm Todd Corder. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you on Friday at 1 p.m. Good night, everybody.